Yeah. Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Please like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. If you not do these things, I have to assume you got fired during a speech like Christy Nome. On today's episode, we have a special guest, a first-time guest. This is like one of the 4 Black people I think that have been on this podcast outside of me. Please welcome Olisa Azikiwe.
Yeah.
Is that it right?
Yeah, about 80%.
80. See, this, God damn it. I was practicing this for like 20 minutes because I have a big thing about saying people's names wrong. I don't know why. It's like a thing. And I'm always like, one, I think it's respectful. 2, I don't like, when like I have a buddy, his name is Etienne, and he goes by Ed by the white people. And I don't like it when they make him go by that. It's like, no. Yeah, it's different because I know him since high school, so Etienne's like it's back of the mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't like my African brothers and sisters having to whiten up their names.
That is a real thing. Yes, especially I don't know if it's like assimilation might be too strong of a word, but just trying to fit in, and you don't want to like drop too much attention to yourself, so you kind of dilute your name a little bit to make it more palatable. But as you get older, it's like, you know what? My name is my name. My parents gave it to me. Like, it's time to be proud about it. So,
exactly. I went to school. I went to a boarding school, and I had kids from all over the world, right? Korea, South Africa, Jamaica, whatever. And like, we had like a set of kids that are from Nigeria. Some were like from Nigeria, and some were like immigrants of Nigerian parents.
Yeah.
And like, so I remember I had this one kid, his name was Taker Chap. But like, I remember Tank told us his whole name one time, and I was like, brother, there's too many consonants and vowels in that. I don't think I'm gonna get that today. But I'm here with you in spirit, but I'm not gonna get that with you today.
That's half the battle right there.
Yeah, facts. But on today's episode, for you guys listening, we will be talking about the round ball going in the hoop. We'll be talking about the basketball. But first, I just want to ask you real quick, have you ever had a job that you never wanted to do?
Wow. I mean, doesn't everyone have that experience? But so yeah, short answer is yes. And I would say, especially when you start out early in the career, is more so I need the money, especially coming out of college. And then how else are you going to get experience? You can't be too picky unless you're like a really top flight candidate. So, I would say, my first couple, like, I was like big time internships or like entry level jobs were definitely like, I need something to put on my resume. So, yeah. I mean, but again, beggars can't be choosers. So,
yeah. And I feel like everyone's had that experience, but I guess the only person that's never had that experience has to be Luke Cornett. The reason why is y'all see Luke Cornett going ahead and he's dissing the hoes respectfully. Luke Cornett is very much saying that he is against the Magic City night that the Atlanta Hawks are having later this month, promotion wise. You guys do not know, Magic City is a strip club or a gentleman's establishment joint down in Atlanta. I've never been. Have you been?
Nah, I've only been to Atlanta like one time when I was like 7. So I definitely wouldn't have been the clientele for that establishment.
At the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been. Never had the wings, but I've heard it's excellent.
Yeah, and shout out to Lou Williams.
Exactly. Shout out to Lemon Pepper Lou. And so I was just thinking there, because Luke Cornett's, to his point, was he didn't feel like it was right for the NBA to be quote unquote exploiting women in this way. I would just love to hear your thoughts on Luke Cornett's purity in this sense about the Magic City night that's supposed to be happening in Atlanta later this month.
Yeah, I would say as someone who's chronically online and also an NBA fan, I definitely heard a lot of sides to this conversation. And like one of them being, hey, he's right. Maybe this isn't the type of partnership an NBA team should having, especially if you want to consider yourself family friendly and for the general public. And then some people was like, this is Atlanta culture. And it will always be like disingenuous for the Atlanta Hawks to like not disregard, but like, hey, not even consider like that partnership because I'm not from Atlanta, but Magic City means a lot to a lot of people from Atlanta apparently. One, it's always like when you're not on the team or you're not even be playing in the game, it's like, why are you talking about this? You're not even like a part of this. Like you don't even go here. But like he does go here, because he's an NBA player. And then also it's like, I mean, conservatism is like kind of peaking in terms of popularity and people become more bolder about how they want to express themselves and their beliefs. So am I surprised that an NBA player spoke up about this Magic City game? No. I mean, does Luke Cornett kind of fit the profile of someone who will speak up about it? Yeah. Do I like have disdain for like a, a big disagreement for the Hawks for like doing this? I mean, I don't work for the team, but hey, as long as people aren't like actively being exploited and like things of that nature, it is going to drive some like interesting conversations for the parents that are going to be at the game to explain to their kids what Magic City is, why is it so important. But hey, that's the role of a parent. So that's all I got on that.
Hey man, what did Wayne say? Was it live on Sunday, King of Diamonds Monday? I know Magic City was somewhere in them rap lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a balance of life. So here's the thing. I actually hear a lot what you say, and I think the thing that's funny with Luke Cornett is like Luke Cornett's been in too many black locker rooms to not have known some things and things can happen. Like I know that dude can rap some NBA young boy. Like you've been exactly. And so, but the thing is like I understand what he is trying to say, right? As a brand, I can see how this could be a little awkward, right?
Yeah.
But two things. One thing my friend already said to me, which was the funniest thing, was the strippers are already at the games. They just have their clothes on. The second thing is we, by and large, as a society, we exploit human bodies all the time. I mean like, has anyone seen the pseudo slave auction that's happening this week at the NFL Combine? Like, that's kind of creepy. It's like we're measuring, the fingers and how tall and wide and weight. Like, I get there's certain jobs that you need to know, like if you have a pre-medical condition. I have no problem with you going to like doctors and seeing like those things can save lives. I mean, there's been several NBA trades where guys were traded and found out they had cancer, right? Like those things can end up being like a positive, but we really don't need any of that to do this. So we unfortunately have been exploiting bodies for a long time. And I think the second point is that, I mean, Luke Cornett can like it or not, sex work has been like one of the number one professions we have had in this country forever. And
in human history.
You can, in history. And you could get into whether or not how deep of sex work stripping is or whatnot, but that's not Atlanta culture. That's a man culture. And that to me is like just always going to be kind of around. So I hear what Mr. Cornett is trying to lay down here, but I ultimately just think that this is just one night and it ain't really gonna be that big of a deal.
Yeah, and I would add on to that in terms of like the strippers aren't going to be working, right? Like
I don't believe so. No.
Right. It's more so kind of like a merchandise collaboration or partnership with Magic City, and then like also they're gonna have wings there too. So I would understand the outrage if they were like going to set up a stripper pole in like center court, but to my knowledge, they're not doing that. So although I respect Luke Cornett and his opinions, respecting his First Amendment right to write his own blog about it, I don't know. I'm just not too outraged to like write an essay about why this shouldn't happen. And honestly, from a business aspect, like you are supposed to placate and cater to your fan base, especially if something of this nature is like so integral to the fabric of the city. Like it's kind of almost good business, I would say. And the hoodies apparently are really popular.
Oh yeah, like if it wasn't anything Hawks related, I would be thinking about copping one of them hoodies. Like those things look kind of nice. But one of the things I did want to touch base on you about, and I did read part of your article about the essence of tanking, essentially, is it's funny. It's like, to me, the NBA, for whatever reason, is like the one sport that we do not talk about the NBA. Like, we talk about the NBA, but we don't actually talk about basketball.
Gotcha.
And it tends to be these like load management, foul baiting, tanking, guys are sitting out. Is LeBron retiring? Like, it's not actually, unfortunately, more about the game. And I think a lot of this has to do with the tanking. And I would love to give you some time just to break down your article, like touching base a little bit on the idea of tanking.
Yeah. Just off the top, I would say this whole notion that we focus more on like the narratives around the players rather than the games itself is kind of like the gift and the curse of like a great job of branding the NBA has done in terms of marketing their individual stars and like shifting the priority of branding and marketing into the players rather than just, team and the sport itself. If you were to compare it to like the NFL. And so the gift and the curse side of that is like people don't really prioritize the beautiful game or the intricacies that goes into like playing high level basketball as compared to, oh, this player is dating this person and who just asked for a trade and things of that nature. So it's kind of like, double-edged sword, but like the sword is making you a lot of money. So I would say in that whole context, it's kind of like almost what you ask for when you have such a star-studded league, and then it's kind of comes with the territory. But in terms of tanking, I would say, and this goes across like any like business industry. Actions is always determined by the incentives and the system that you set up, and so. And I touched on this in the article. There was like this story that I want to give credit to like Bill Simmons. He mentioned in his podcast, and it's kind of like sparked me in terms of writing my own Substack article about it. But essentially, in the 83-84 season, obviously Hakeem Olajuwon was this big recruit or prospect in college at the University of Houston. And everybody who wanted a generational big man like Hakeem were doing the best they could in terms of ensuring that they were in the best position to do so. And so as you get to the end of the season, there was three teams, and kind of know the three teams when you look at the draft order. It was the Houston Rockets, the Trailblazers, and the Bulls. And the Rockets and the Bulls particularly were like really avid or like really going at it in terms of tanking or trying to like intentionally not put out the best possible teams on the court to ensure that they don't win games. And so one example was that the last couple of games of the season for the Rockets, they started Elvin Hayes, who is a legendary name, but not in
old man at that point.
No, not at that point. It would be like the equivalent of starting Chris Paul right now as your starting point guard. Like no disrespect to Chris Paul, he's one of my favorites, but like he's not. Starting Chris Paul is not the work of a contending team.
He is Chris Paul in name only.
Exactly. Yeah. So they did that, and like everyone knew what was going on, but like there was no rules and a system in place to like there was no, the league wasn't going to fine them because they weren't technically violating any rules, and so this worked out for them because starting Elvin Hayes, like basically his legs fell apart after them playing him like 40 plus minutes in back-to-back games. And so they lost those games, obviously. And then you get to the draft lottery, or not even the draft lottery, but back then there was no draft lottery, which is kind of the key to the story. Essentially, they had the same system as the NFL does right now, where the worst teams gets the best, the top pick. So basically losing, they lost all those games. They essentially beat out the Bulls and Trailblazers in terms of like getting the number one pick. And as a result, they were able to draft Hakeem Olajuwon. But like the public in general was pissed off. The other teams were pissed off. And then as a result of that, in the offseason, they put forth the system of the draft lottery. In 84, you get Hakeem going first, and the Bulls lucked out by the Trailblazers picking
Sam Bowie.
Exactly, Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. And so you get to the next draft, the 85 draft, and you get the famous Patrick Ewing draft and conspiracy of did they freeze the envelope? And it's just funny, like we don't get that if we don't establish the whole system that promotes tanking. So it's, a little NBA history for you there. But that's kind of the thing I touched on in terms of like, how do we get to this point in tanking in the NBA?
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating because that is honestly, Bomani Jones made the comparison of that draft being the Myles Garrett, Patrick Mahomes draft, where Myles Garrett is like going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time, and he absolutely should not have been the number one pick in the draft. Like it's such a crazy concept. Same thing with Hakeem Olajuwon with Michael Jordan. But yeah, it's so interesting because, and I think the NBA has done a better job of going away from this model of what I would say is a strong chain, weak chain sport, right? Hockey, football especially, and probably soccer are the sports, the only real team sports that you can say are weak chain sports in the sense that, yes, you're going to need a great player to win, but by and large part, if you are solid everywhere around, you're going to win some games, right? The Seahawks, I think, did a pretty good example. I don't think anyone here thinks Sam Darnold is now an elite quarterback, but they were so good at so many positions, they were able to go ahead and win the Super Bowl that way. And that's not the same with basketball because you just see what it takes. One guy that ends up being that guy completely changes your fortunes forever. And you're going to be able to have that guy because the NBA has done everything they can to de-incentivize free agency and incentivize the draft and made it so that these teams now can keep their players unless they just want to leave for as long as they want to. And even if they have a desire of leaving, the last major free agent we've had leave was Kawhi Leonard. That was almost 8 years ago at this point. We haven't had any major guy just walk in free agency. And I think overall that has made it so where teams are going to look at it and go, this player is worth so much money on their rookie contract.
Right.
There is no other way for me to get that one guy to change my franchise. I have to tank. Right.
Exactly.
I ultimately don't necessarily fully believe in the idea of tanking. I would say consistently, I think once you get that guy, it to me is incumbent to help them become a better basketball player. But it is clearly something that the league is clearly taking personally. And I have had my own thoughts on what they can do with tanking, but I think it's ultimately, unfortunately, becomes like a louder conversation during what I think is like the dead period between the NFL ending and the NBA kind of taking over our brains.
The noise gets heightened because there's less things to talk about because you don't have the distraction of the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl to contend with. And but like to your point in terms of like the way basketball is set up, you're like essentially incentivized to like do whatever you can to get that generational talent. Like even going back to that Elvin Hayes story, like just think about the results of that 84 draft. Houston, who did the tanking, gets Hakeem Olajuwon. And just think about how important Hakeem is to the overall history and the lore of the Houston Rockets. And then the Bulls, they lucked out, but like still they were the third worst team in the league. They get Michael Jordan at 3. Think about what that does to not only the history of their team, but like team valuations and the overall value of that franchise. So that just goes to show you like there's so much like evidence and like that tanking is necessary if you don't have the pockets to buy up the superstar players. Like
but here's the thing though, even that you say that, we don't talk about how many times teams got that wrong. Like look at the Warriors. They had the second pick in the draft.
Yeah.
They could have gotten Anthony Edwards if they got the number 1 pick. They could have gotten LaMelo Ball if they took him instead of James Wiseman. And that draft, along with the Moody pick and along with the Kuminga pick, set them like that completely closed their window. You know, if they get, you know, Franz Wagner, LaMelo Ball, like if they are able to get one guy in one different way, your team's all different. So like to me, I would also argue the Zion draft is a very great example of this. As someone who watched this team win 17 games and put all their eggs in a basket to get Zion Williamson, it doesn't happen. And you're just left being like, well, what was the purpose of all of that losing? And to me, I just feel like ultimately losing breeds losing. It's the reason why I think the Sixers are the way that they are now. They didn't care about winning for half a decade. Their best player, they didn't get in the lottery.
Yeah.
And now I think they are one of the teams that are in the most awkward positions because they have, to me, the two of the 5 worst contracts in the league. And yet they have a superstar, another rookie who's really good, on their team. So they're kind of like in this, like, we have to be mediocre. And to me, I don't think that's even like a good place for them to be in. So I feel like the best way to get rid of this thing is simply to get rid of the draft. I think that, and I tried to explain this to my buddy, and it took him forever to really understand it, right? I didn't even come up with this concept. Mark Cuban was really the person who sounded the alarm on this, but essentially the money's already there. If you have the worst record in the league, you have the slot, whatever. So you get you're getting the ability to pay whatever the rookie is $20 million, right? But my argument is just like, because you have NIL and because you have these guys who are like, I mean, AJ DeBansa, I don't know if he's like lying or not, but he's saying he might go back to school.
I mean, Zion said the same thing.
Exactly, right? Now, is the way that college basketball a point where it's like you can't keep these guys, you have to leave? Maybe it would be a case, but I mean, the man went to BYU. I think trying to predict what this young man is about to do with his life, I think is a farce. But I can see there being a situation where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to the Kings. You've been terrible for 20 years. True. I'm not going there. I want to go to the Pacers, or I want to go wherever, right? Like the next best, the Wizards. I want to go to these other teams because you have not shown to take care of players in almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And to me, that at least helps teams better put themselves in position like, no, we need to win games and become a better franchise overall. Yeah.
I would say in terms of the idea of even though you draft high picks, picking the wrong person can still like be detrimental to your team. It's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, you have to put yourself in the best possible position, give yourself the best possible chance. And for a lot of these small market teams, even though you have like teams like the Mavericks, who's not technically a small market. I'm trying to think. The Sixers aren't small market, but like have a history of tanking. But like for other teams who, like your Utah, who utilizes strategy, the best you can do is put yourself in position to get the best possible talent. And then being able to pick them, that's on your scouting team. But like if you're not in the lottery, if you're not in top 5, like you won't have a chance in general. So
but
I just want to say that about that.
But like, even to your point,
pushback.
Look at Utah. Their best player, they did not draft. Their second best player, it was not a lottery pick. Their third best player, they just traded for.
Yeah.
Like this idea, excuse me, this idea that you need to be terrible year after year to get a superstar, I just don't believe.
Yeah, I don't believe in that either.
Yeah, I think, and yes, like, is it going to be tough to get Luka Doncic to want to go to Utah? Yeah, I'm not going to sit up here and like act like markets don't matter, right? But again, look at the history of the league, right? Like the Knicks have been in the league forever. Yeah, and they never get those guys. The Celtics have been good forever and never get those guys. You know? And so I just
Larry Bird, but yeah.
Exactly. They drafted Larry Bird. They drafted Tatum. They drafted Brown. They drafted McHale. They drafted Parrish. No, they traded for Parrish. Like they just be a good franchise. Like that's the thing that I just feel that is so just ridiculous. The Kings had Halliburton and Fox, and both of them might go to the finals in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like that's on you.
Yeah.
Like I like it's so nauseating to me to keep to me what it does, it erodes fandoms. Truly, it erodes them. Like again, Knicks fan here, obviously. The times where I watch the Knicks play the Wizards, it sounds like they're playing in Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Wizards fans there. The MSG crew is trying to find Wizards fans, and you can't find any of them without seeing 10 Knicks fans around them. It's like, and mind you, DC is a big area. They love the Commanders.
Yeah, I live
there. Like, exactly. Okay, yeah. So you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly. I've lived the experience of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like you just destroy any type of goodwill that I think your fan base has to your team, and it's going to take you a long time to try and bring that back. Like, I give them credit. I don't believe in what they did in terms of trading for Anthony Davis and Trae Young, but it's like, hey,
today actually,
exactly. But it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to try something.
Yeah,
and I
was going to say, you can say like success is like derivative of like want to, and then also skill. And so you can kind of say that a lot of these teams who have perennially not been able to acquire great players, even though they have had high draft picks, is more of an indictment on their scouting and evaluation departments rather than, just the perverseness of tanking in general. And so, like, because you mentioned like the Celtics, who they drafted Tatum and Brown, top 3 picks, but also they maneuvered their way to get those 2 picks in the KG and Paul Pierce trade. So,
and don't forget they had the number 1 pick traded down to get Tatum because Markelle Fultz went number 1.
Right. Who the scouting team had evaluated Tatum over Markelle Fultz to begin with, which was why they were so comfortable in making that trade. So again, like, you can almost say it's also, you don't have good people evaluating talent, hence why you are constantly bad. And you can say the same thing for the Sixers, who had all those top picks, but like were constantly drafting players who I had prone to injuries. Not Joel Embiid, but more so kind of Nerlens Noel, or who players who kind of like past the era of the NBA and Jahlil Okafor. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like there's a lot of things that goes into making a cake, but if you don't have good ingredients and if the baker doesn't know what he's doing, you're going to have a bad cake regardless. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. No, these are very fair points. We actually now talk about the actual basketball now. Quick question. I did not ask you beforehand. What is your team of choice of the league?
I am unique in the way that I actually root for 2 teams.
Nice.
So I grew up in DC, so I root for basically all the DC teams. So shout out to the Wizards. But because of the fact that the Lakers were constantly on national television, I grew up basically a Kobe and Shaq fan, and through that, I've essentially been integrated into becoming a Lakers fan. So in terms of NBA, I root for both the Wizards and the Lakers.
Nice. Okay, so Lakers fan. No, it's funny, and I'll say this because Kobe will respect this, because the one thing I hate now is, and rest in peace to Kobe Bean Bryant, is Kobe knows people hated him.
Oh, for sure.
Like he knew, yeah, and he liked that we hated him.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna try and disrespect this man and tell you, oh, I have all these fond memories. I hated him. He kicked my team's ass all the time. It sucked. He had 61 points in the Garden. I remember that week vividly. And then the next day, LeBron James had a 50-point triple-double. Like,
that's like a crazy month for the Knicks. Because I think
it was a week.
Yeah. And then Carmelo, wasn't that the same season Carmelo dropped the 60? Or was it the year?
No, so Melo wasn't on the team yet. This was the 07 season. Yeah, gotcha. This is the year Yeah, this was
Oh,
the year
okay.
that
Yeah, I
they
do
thought.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, this is the year they thought the Lakers and the Cavs were going to play in the finals, and then it just
exactly.
never happened.
Yeah,
Um, no, Melo came 4 years
yeah,
after
yeah.
this. After this, but yeah, no, but speaking of great jumping off point, because I'm interested in talking about the Lakers in the sense that we were just talking about the chain theory, right?
Hmm.
The idea that you need to have one strong chain. But I do think that the NBA now is shifting a little bit away from that in the sense that you're only as good as the worst player you put on the court,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
Like I forgot, it's a site with the Athletic. I think it's called Half Moon, but I'll try and double check their name. But they did a nice little breakdown of all the teams that lost in the playoffs and basically broke down why they lost and how it was like what teams exploited. Like, for example, I hate playing the Pacers.
Uh,
Just can't stand playing them. And the
yep.
reason why I can't stand playing them is because no matter how good you feel you're going offensively,
Hmm.
you'll never get more than like a 10-point lead. You'll be within 10 the whole game. Exactly. But you're just running up and down, and everyone's like, slow down, slow down. But if you ever played a game of basketball, if you're feeling good offensively, you're naturally gonna want to run.
Right.
And that's what they want you to do. You turn around, and it's like, how are we losing this game? We're shooting 60% from the field, and we've made all of our threes, and yet we're down 3 with 4 minutes to go. And it gets to a point of like Karl-Anthony Towns, it's hard to keep him up because as dominant as he's been, they just keep running so much they're getting easy
Right.
points. And
He's a
the
true
article
big.
made the same exactly. And the article made the point about Luka, of him being the ball dominant guy, of like, okay, we have this one guy,
Yeah.
he's doing everything, and while he's getting his numbers, we know we're going to wear him down come game 3, game 4, game 5, because he just can't keep up that usage rate. So how do you feel overall about not only just this Lakers season, but the Luka experience
Experience.
overall?
I mean, I try to be objective now in my sports fandom. I don't know, it just comes with old age or like life making me more pessimistic. But
Yeah.
it's hard for me to like overvalue the teams that I root for. I'm very like objective in how I evaluate and have expectations for them. And for the Lakers, the beginning of the season was great in terms of like finally seeing the 3 players play together until the injuries happened. But if you look at the profile of what the Lakers are this year compared to last year, it's not that much different and not that much of an improvement, to the point that like when people say, "Oh, if the Lakers get the Timberwolves in the first round, that would be a great matchup for the Lakers." No way. It wasn't a great matchup last year, and I can't see how they got better than what they were doing last year. And it's just the profiles of teams that's been like a pain in the sides of the Lakers for like past 3 years, 3 or 4 years, regardless of whether Luka is on the team or not, has been like teams that can get up and down, that play defense, and that rebounds. And also teams that have guards, whether that be the 1 or the 2, that can like attack and get their own buckets. And so like that sounds like obvious, but like that is the epitome of the profile of the Timberwolves and of like basically all the top teams in the league, especially the West. Even Denver, who like you say their focal point is Jokic, but you got Murray, who's a great guard who loves playing the Lakers. They also can defend. They have a lot of wings, and once they're healthy, they're probably as versatile and as good as anyone in the league. So, in terms of expectations, I can't see us matching up well with anyone that's ahead of us right now in the standings. So, expecting the team to like make it past the first round is just like something I can't get behind. But I am a Lakers fan, so I'm going to continue to root for him. But I don't know, the Luka experience, he's definitely raised the floor. And like when you have a superstar like Luka or LeBron on your team, your floor, you can't, it's going to be hard to lose but so many games. So having Luka is great. You would rather have Luka than not have Luka. But I mean, I just, the pressure is on Rob Pelinka to build a team around Luka, and whether he's waiting for LeBron to not be on that team in order for him to start that process is probably what's happening. But for the time being, the team is just a good offensive team that is too lazy to play defense right now.
Yeah. It's funny. I had one of my buddies came on this pod last year, like right after the trade, maybe like a week after the trade. And the things that I said to him was, I think two things happened. I thought that for the Mavericks, they cut their window to win the championship into like a year or two because they had Anthony Davis, Kyrie before he got hurt.
Right.
And they had all these wings that's like, okay, this team at least somewhat makes some sense to get to the finals. Obviously, that didn't happen, and the rest is kind of history. But the thing I said about the Lakers was, I think that they took themselves out of championship contention with this trade, but essentially try to extend their window to be able to win a championship, if you get what I'm saying, right? It goes back to the superstar theory. My whole life, the Lakers have found a way to get a superstar. Kobe, LeBron, Luka, whether you think Paul Gasol was one, Shaq, Anthony Davis, right? Like they've somehow migrate their way to Los Angeles. But I didn't like the team last year, and I didn't like the team going into this year, right? Like I think that they have, like you said, like Luka's an ultimate floor raiser. You are only going to lose but so many games when you have him on the team. There's so many bad teams in the league. If you split against like the mediocre teams, you just got to beat the top teams once or twice, and then that's about 47 to 50 wins.
Right.
So, to me, that was always their case. But like this league now is not about having two great players and a bunch of Jags on it. You need to have your first and second best player. There can't be a chasm between your second best player and your third best player. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are excellent players. Derek White, there's not a chasm between Brown and Tatum and Derek White. Derek White's still very good.
Yeah.
Right? Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are very good basketball players. There is not a chasm between them and OG Anunoby. He's still a very good player. And to me, I don't even know who the Lakers, I would assume it's Austin Reeves, but to me, that already speaks to my point. You got three dudes who can't guard anybody.
Exactly.
And DeAndre Ayton. Like that's gonna always just be a problem. So that to me was kind of the Lakers' kind of flaw and seeing. Do you like trust Rob to be able to build the team going forward, or do you have your own kind of fears about that?
Like if Rob didn't execute this Luka trade, he would have been gone in the summer. So in terms of my belief in Rob, like great agent, obviously a great negotiator. In terms of a GM and a team builder. I mean, it's almost like where would he be without the help of Clutch Sports? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So, but they gave him an extension. If I remember correctly. So he has the time to do so in terms of like build a team around Luka, and like the template, the blueprint is already there with what the Mavericks did on that finals run team. And like it's so obvious because like it's kind of similar to what the Rockets did around James Harden in his Houston years. You just got to surround them with wings that can defend and shoot, and also have a big that can finish off lobs. And then that's kind of what you need to build a contender around Luka. So whether he has the money to do that, which probably means getting rid of a certain legendary player. But he has the time, so it's more so of whether he wants to like start that process now or wait until King James himself decides that he's done playing basketball.
Do you think this is last year in LA?
Oh, this is a good caveat you put on there. In LA, I don't know.
For the record, I do not think he's retiring. I think he's coming back next year.
I feel like he's the type of person who would say that this year will be his last year. To pull like a Tim Duncan is not like in his brand.
Yeah, he wants to love.
Exactly. Yeah. Last year in LA, I would say 51% yes. Just with all the things that's come out, with like his riffs with ownership and Jeannie Buss, and things of that nature. Them kind of like slow playing, giving him the extension that he just signed about a year ago. it's kind of, there's so many things in the air that there's like the Lakers want to move on, but they don't want to have the bad optics of kicking out a legend of the stature of LeBron James.
Let me tell you this right now. LeBron James is done. He's not playing there no more. Like that ship has sailed. And it's funny because you said that, right? Because a lot of times we are about to see, in my opinion, like a new era of the Lakers because the people who own the Dodgers, Walters, he's now the owner of the Lakers, or he'll be the owner next season. And I remember that was always the thing where it was like they try to treat their stars to a certain level because they know there's always another one around the corner that's going to want to come to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it'll be fascinating to see because I think he's gone. There's already kind of where he will go next. I think, like everything, I think the playoffs will determine a lot in terms of like where LeBron's name's his next home. If I had to put money on it, I don't know. Like I was listening to Simmons talk about Cleveland and how he kind of poo-pooed that.
Yeah,
I think it's a lot to have to have Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and have LeBron James last year there. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, and also you would have to trade. I mean, unless he opts out of his contract, you probably have to make the trade to get LeBron, which means like who are you sending back? And like who
are you gonna, or is he gonna sign a vet minimum, which would be the craziest thing in the world? That this guy is signing a vet minimum, but he's still a top 30 player in the league.
I don't know, it is interesting, and it's why they get paid the big bucks in terms of management to make that decision. But I don't know. LeBron's the type of player, like, if he doesn't want to play there, he's not going to play there anymore, like you said. So, but it's like his daughter is growing up in LA. I don't know if he wants to. I mean, but like, even when he was playing for the Cavs, he already had a house in LA. So I don't even know if that's really a part of the decision making right there. Not to speculate on his family life, but
I think this is about to be a wrap for him. And mind you, people always say that, but I'm like, he's on the road most of the year too. Like how much is he seeing his family? I mean, obviously his son is seeing him the whole time on the trip too, but
that's also, does he have to be in the trade with LeBron if that happens?
I'm gonna say this right now. If Bronny James is not playing on the same team as LeBron James, Bronny James is not gonna be the NBA. He's not an NBA player. And I feel like he's a fine G League player. And that's the thing. It's like there are a lot of great guys who are just G League players. And again, he might just be a quadruple A player, right? Like you're not quite good enough to be an NBA player, but you're clearly like good enough to be a G League player. And you know what? That's fine. This whole notion that we had, 2 years ago now, that it was some type of problem for people to say, yeah, this guy's not ready to be an NBA player, I think was fine. And it's the fact that like, it's the same thing, unfortunately, to cross metaphors. It's my whole thing with like Shedeur Sanders, right? I am not a father, but I am a son. And I know what it's like to go into a field where people are looking at you and saying, you don't belong here. Now it's different with Shedeur. Like Shedeur was actually an NFL prospect versus like you look at Bronny James stats in college and he was terrible. But I also I didn't think anything was wrong with this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like his last name could have been Jones. He still would have been. He still should have been drafted. But I don't think he's going to be like a star or superstar. And you know what? That's fine. You know why? Because he's already a millionaire. He's already had success. Just because he doesn't become a Hall of Fame athlete doesn't mean that he can't be good at something else.
Yeah.
And I feel as if
normal. Because there aren't any father-son Hall of Famers in the NBA that I can think of. Maybe, no, not really. Yeah. So, and there's a reason for that, because like the conditions in which you come up in is not the same as your father, and part of, you don't have that background that made your father who he was, and like it's a blessing and a curse to not have to go through those things to shape you to become, or to like instill that work ethic, or not to say Bron doesn't have a work ethic. I mean, he obviously made it to the NBA, but like conditions make people who they are, and if you don't have to go through certain conditions, you won't end up becoming to the status of who you get compared to being your father. So,
Yeah,
but
I think you could argue the best father-son combination in NBA history are the Hardaways.
yeah,
Tim
good point.
Hardaway and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, I would say throw in Klay Thompson and Michael Thompson.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Thompsons. Yeah, those are probably like the two contenders.
Yeah.
Actually, the Thompsons are probably the better of the two.
Dale and Steph. I know Dale wasn't like an elite player, but he was considered like he was a well-respected shooter. But yeah, yeah. I mean, look at Michael Jordan and his sons. Like, it's normal for the son not to live up to like 60% of what the father did, and especially when you have to contend with your father being legendary like that.
Yeah. Real quick before I want to touch on this WNBA stuff, but I don't want to keep you too long. Who do you have getting to the finals, and who do you have winning the championship?
Well, all things considered, all teams being healthy, I don't see a team that's better than OKC. Whether that's because they have the best defense when they're hitting on all cylinders. They have the MVP, who's probably going to be back-to-back now that he's healthy and will qualify. Or they have the best whistle in the league. So,
they have her?
Yeah, it's hilarious. And like it's so funny. It's driving all the teams that they play crazy and all the coaches that they play crazy. But like, I mean, the case can be made. They drive the most out of any teams. So again, going back to putting yourself in position of success, if you're constantly driving, you're more likely than not you're going to get the whistle more often compared to your opponents because you're constantly putting yourself in position to get that whistle. But with that being said, the whistle has been crazy for the MVP. But again, they have best defense, one of the best offense, and the best whistle. And honestly, there's no other team that can like reach their ceiling unless you're looking at like Denver, or if Tatum comes back and like is 90% of the player he is, then I would throw the Celtics in there too. But in terms of out the East, I don't know, something in me keeps saying like it's still too early for Detroit. But I don't know if the Celtics can like gel in time to get to that level of like being an Eastern Conference winner. But I think it'll come down to the Knicks and the Pistons. And I mean, based on the regular season, I feel like I have to go Pistons. No offense.
All right. No, take it. Listen, the Pistons kicked the Knicks' ass 3 times this year. Like what am I gonna say? Yeah, I have my 2 biggest questions about the Pistons are simply, I would love to see a team that has not won a playoff series now all of a sudden have to win 3 playoff series for the first time with this group.
That's a good point.
And second, I have seen teams have this one superstar act before, and those teams tend to burn out quickly. I think of the Hardens. I think of the Luka team. Now, Luka got to the finals, but he had Kyrie with him. Who could get buckets when he needed to get buckets. I just don't. I fundamentally do think once they get to the postseason, they are going to see things that they just have not seen yet.
Yeah,
and
I would say, not to cut you off, but who in the East is going to give them that challenge?
To me personally, the East might be a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing this year, because I just don't look at like the Celtics, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think the Celtics would score way too many points for the Pistons. I just don't think the Pistons can generate enough offense to stop the Celtics from doing what they want to do. The Celtics are I think they're the number 1 or number 2 offense in the league. And that's without Tatum. You know? Yeah. They play still the same way. They're trying to drive, kick, shoot the threes games, right? Now they're at least doing a little bit better on the glass. I just don't see the Pistons being able to get up to that level of scoring to keep up with those guys. And one of the main things that I always say is, yes, they are physical. Physicality is not a sport. Physicality is not a skill.
Mm.
It is a mindset. And when everyone's playing physical and everyone's playing super hard, it's the same thing about being angry. You can only get but so angry, you know?
Yeah.
But it gets to, like I said, the rock, paper, scissors thing, because I think on the other side, like Cleveland is a weird, interesting matchup for them with the Celtics, because they can spread the floor. They're not going to have the same problems with the pace of space. And Donovan Mitchell kills their guards every single time. And you do not want a Jason Tatum guy coming off an Achilles injury trying to guard, Harden or Donovan Mitchell, right? Well, then it gets to another issue.
Max Strus coming back too, right?
Max Strus might be coming back. Like, the Cavs have a really good offensive group, but they're a team that lacks physicality. I have seen the Knicks punk their two bigs multiple times in not only the playoffs, but in the regular season games. And so, to me, I think it comes down to whose worst nightmare gets knocked off by the other, and who's able to just maintain and get there. Like, obviously, might be, let's say, biased or not, I truly think that this is the Knicks' year to win the championship. I've had Knicks over Denver the whole year.
But to win? I haven't. Not even just to make it out the East?
I've had the Knicks winning the NBA championship since the start of the season. And the reason why I've had it was because I believe in heartbreak. I truly believe in heartbreak. I think heartbreak is one of the main drivers to winning. Look at any of the teams that have won the championship recently. Celtics, heartbreak. Denver, heartbreak. Lakers, heartbreak.
OKC.
Warriors,
yeah.
OKC. You need to, when you are like, everyone's picking you to win and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's picking you to win and you don't. It takes that like level of like pain inside of you to get through the hump. That's another reason why I love the Spurs. I can't pick them.
Yeah.
You haven't gone through the pain.
I'll throw the Bucks in there too. You think about all the years they were good, and they kept losing.
How many years good couldn't get over the hump, and they finally did it?
Yeah.
Like, it takes a level of just agony to finally be like, we're getting it done this year. And the second thing is, and it was the thing that I was most not concerned about, but one of the things I was looking forward to was, again, the Knicks, people don't want to believe this, Knicks have the 7th best defense in basketball. 7th.
Okay, yeah.
With Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, they have the 7th best defense in basketball. They've had the best defense in basketball for like 7 weeks. This team can now guard people. And I trust that Brunson's giving me what he's going to give me. Cat's had a very up and down season all year. I do think his defense has been very good. However, the biggest issue that I would say is Jalen Brunson would be pretty easily the worst player to be the best player on a championship team. The only other guy that comes to mind is like Chauncey Billups. Like, again, like I don't even know how, like, is it Kawhi, young Kawhi?
What, 2014?
On the 2014 team? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm really stretching here.
Yeah.
Cedric Maxwell, like it's, and he wasn't even the best. He just won Finals MVP. Like, It's not every day that you have a guy who, prior to him winning the championship, is an automatic Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Tatum was a Hall of Famer before they won the title. LeBron was a Hall of Famer before he won the title.
All right, comparing credentials or accolades for Tatum in 2024 was when they won?
Yes.
To Jalen Brunson now.
It's not close.
I know he has more All-Stars and probably more All-NBA.
Yeah. Jalen Brunson has not made first team All-NBA.
Okay.
Jason Tatum has never not made first team All-NBA since he's made it. Every All-NBA he's made first team All-NBA.
I actually didn't know that. I would assume second, but dang. Okay.
No, it's first team. He has 5 straight first team All-NBAs.
Wow. Okay, yeah, you got me there. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Jalen Brunson is my favorite Knick of all time. I will never not be a fan of his.
Whoa, over
However,
Carmelo Anthony?
and here's the thing, man. Last year was the year it changed.
I can see
Before
that.
last year, I was like, I still have Melo above him. Last year was like, this guy is magic.
Yeah.
And like, again, I just anytime my favorite phrase is everyone's better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than this man.
He is a big time player.
Yeah. So, but like I said before, I think he'll eventually become a Hall of Famer, but that's also college and all this other stuff too, right? Yeah. Like, so I think he will get in, but yeah, like I'm being as like you. I try to be as objective as I can. I'm running a podcast here. This is not a Knicks fan podcast. I just try to be as objective as I can, and like he would be one of the worst players in the history of the game to be the best player on the championship team. Now, I don't care about that because I would have won the championship, but it is a reality, And so that to me is, if you like, to me personally, that to me is the overall like best argument I can see for why they won't win. Not this, they can't defend, not this, like this, is this guy good enough to get it done? Every team's got a flaw. Is your best guy? I saw Steph Curry drag a bunch of dudes to win a championship. And basically he said, I got this.
Yeah, that was a Hall of Fame run right there.
Yeah. Like, does this guy have that in him? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question to have. Definitely like almost blew my brain in terms of like thinking about how Jalen Brunson stacks up over history in terms of like where he is and like whether he can be that person to lead a team to the championship. I'm still not over you thinking they can win. Like, if you would say Eastern Conference, I would have been like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
No,
Boom.
But here's the thing. Like, I think that the NBA has done a good job as far as free agency being quelled, tanking, and just the distribute and the CBA not allowing, like, you just can't keep 3 max players on the team anymore.
Oh, so you are a fan of the second apron?
That's a great question. Am I a fan? I think I would say yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's forced teams to spread out the talent. And I think that like you just can't keep you just can't do what the Warriors were doing or what the Cavs were doing back in the day. And I just think you can only have but so many high paid guys in your team. So you have to spread it out.
Yeah, I think the other side of that is like, does it penalize people who are just good at their jobs in terms of scouting and evaluating talent and accruing talent the quote unquote right way in terms of drafting players? Kind of like, I mean, people are projecting that the second apron might be in terms of the Celtics team, but like, again, they pretty much kept all the players that they drafted, and people that had to give up were your Drew Holidays and your KP, who were all also like towards the end of their careers. So it was probably the right time to move on from those players as well. But they're saying OKC might be affected by the second apron and how it is now in terms of losing out all the players that they, acquired the right way in terms of drafting and development. So is that a good thing?
To me, I personally think it is, because ultimately, like, Caruso and Hartenstein are gone. They can't keep those guys. But to me, the way I looked at it is the best way, because while you let those guys go, Cason Wallace is now going to have a bigger role. Chet is now going to he has a pretty big role now, but they already drafted some guy who they were comparing to Hartenstein.
I remember,
right? Like,
I forget his name too. You got Isaiah Joe.
Yes, they have Isaiah Joe. Yeah, and like those guys can now, because to me, free agency now isn't about the Durants, the Brunsons, the Jason Tatums. It's about Isaiah Joe. It's about Deuce McBride. It's about these mid-tier guys who Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who was a good player, on the Wolves, and then he's shooting close to 50, 40, 90 on the Hawks. Like, he's able to like spread his wings and show more. Now the Hawks aren't so good, but he was able to go get paid and be in a role where he's doing very well. And so, like, to me, I think the second apron what it's done a lot, and I think what happened is that it's reclassified the middle tier. You're now not getting these auto maxes. Karl Anthony Towns, you are not getting an auto max just because you made an all-star team last year. Julius Randle, you are not getting an auto max because you made but so many all-star teams. No, like, we need to have more negotiating power. And while I want the money to go to the players, it fundamentally created this now tier of second tier kind of players. Now, the trick down of that, what I will say, is that I definitely do think there are guys who are on minimum deals who shouldn't be, but it's not perfect. And I think that guys are just not going to get those like crazy contracts that they were getting, like the Joakim Noah deals that they were getting like 7 years ago.
Oh yeah. Was that summer 2016?
Never forget, man. Summer 2016, man.
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when the TV money kicked in.
Yep.
Yeah, and got KD going to the Warriors, Joakim, Luol Deng getting the money from the Lakers. At least Luol put the money to good use in terms of funding the Sudanese basketball team. Was this? No, it was Senegal. Yeah, I should know what country Luol Deng is from. Point being that, yeah, I can see that in terms of like the redistribution of kind of assets in general, in terms of not being able to just hoard or accumulate talent. Yeah, I'm still trying to evaluate how I feel about the second apron. I think a lot of players will say it's a little too punitive on their ability to get paid. But some may say like, hey, be better at your job and you won't have to worry about that. So, but yeah, I think like kind of relating sports to society, the whole idea of like the middle class, people are still trying to decide what the second apron is doing to the quote unquote middle class of the NBA in terms of those mid-level or mid-tier contracts. And so once that gets like situated, we can probably have a better understanding of like what the league will look like going into the future. Because this is the CBA for the foreseeable future. So it's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. Speaking of financials, it's the last topic we can get on, that we can head on out of here. WNBA is having somewhat of a moment in a bad way. First, shout out to Brianna Stewart and The Mist for winning the Unrivaled title.
Yep, Unrivaled basketball.
Yes, where I think we have now reached a point where women's sports are in itself a draw. You know, one of the big things that I saw, Bill Simmons had the commissioner of the WNBA on last season before the season started, and saying how that the Valkyrie, the new team for the Golden State. Yeah, it's Golden State. How 90% of their season ticket holders weren't Warriors fans. These were new fans. I was in Toronto at a Podfest last weekend, and there was a guy who came up to me because we were just chit-chatting about sports, and he was saying that he was so excited about the Turbo. That's about to be the WNBA team in Toronto. He was explaining to me that I forgot where they're playing. The Turbo are playing at the Toronto's practice facility for their regular season games. But when Caitlin Clark is going to go there and play, they're going to go play at where the Toronto Raptors play because they just need more tickets. Like, this is clearly a thing now. And everyone's anticipating a season that may or may not happen. Brianna Stewart just said today that, yeah, like there's definitely a possibility there's going to be a strike. I never believed in this March 10th deadline. I believe in deadlines when games are on the line. That's a deadline.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel about what's happening right now with the league and their the labor strike going on?
It's so interesting looking at women's sports because like as someone who's like not, above the age of 40, you don't remember a time where you have like these leagues like the NBA or NFL going through the trials and tribulation in terms of like trying to establish themselves within the U.S. market and create sustainability and longevity. So being able to see this in the view of women's sports in the WNBA it's you're almost like kind of time travel into looking how sports league in general have to go through these processes of establishing the self, um, creating process and like creating foundations in the system that allows for both the team owners and investors and the players to both eat well and eat long term. And so I mean, I actually did just write a article on my Substack, just kind of looking at the unrivaled basketball league and how it kind of plays into this overall story of the WNBA CBA negotiations. The thesis is basically like the idea of this unrivaled league is like probably one of the best power move or strategic or negotiation tactic in like sports history, because one, what they were able to do in terms of its success, they were able to show like there is a genuine market. How you were saying, there is a genuine market and a draw for women's basketball in the U.S. And so this idea that the WNBA and the owners and management like to use the argument is like, hey, like we're still trying to grow this market, we're still trying to create demand. We can't afford to pay you more than the 7 to 9% of revenue, because like honestly, we're taking on so much risk trying to create this idea of a sustainable league. And so what they were able to show with Unrivaled and selling out in Philadelphia and selling out at the Barclays is like, no, there's a lot more people that likes women's sports than what you guys are letting on. And so there's a lot more money to be made and to be shared than what you guys are letting on. So this idea, this idea that you still need to like keep labor expenses low in terms of salary for players and covering their expenses, it doesn't fly anymore, because we're showing that we can pay our athletes a good salary. I think the Unrivaled we're paying like 100,000 season one, then got up to 200,000, and then they have like the $600,000 bonus for the championship winners. So they're showing that again, we can pay people like the market is much higher than what the WNBA executives were letting on, and so will they actually play the season? I think because of the momentum that they've had in the past couple of years, they can't afford to not have this season. They're still a young league, and young league are more penalized than any when it comes to work stoppage. So again, they can't afford to lose out on the momentum that having new stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and other big names that are still playing, like your Breonna Stewarts and what's
Nafisha Collier.
Yeah, I was trying because she was a co-founder of Unrivaled, so I wanted to get her name in there. But yeah, so you have all these stars, you got to get them in front of people in order to continue to grow the game, in order to justify bringing in those new teams and new markets in Golden State and in Toronto. And so I would say the pressure is more so on the WNBA executives rather than the players to get the season going. Because I was going to say because Unrivaled has showed that there's alternatives, like, and there's opportunity for domestic alternatives to the WNBA rather than just players going overseas and playing.
Yeah, and it's funny the thing that you said, right? Like they don't want to lose out on this. The other thing is that they're a league that plays during the summertime. Like you are not only battling baseball, either a World Cup or an Olympic every 2 years.
Yeah.
But you're also battling nice weather. People want to be outside.
Yep.
And the fact that you might throw that away is going to be really, really damaging. And I think the biggest like issue about this, right, you said, is like we don't even think about these things, right? But like one of their sticking issues is housing. Like we don't even think about in CBA that the NHL is talking about housing for its players, right? Or same thing with the NFL, right? Like these guys are making so much money that's not even a part of the thing. I tell people all the time, I potentially make more money than Caitlin Clark from her contract, right? Like this is not a, I would say a poor person, but at the same time, it's like that's not the amount of money that the league is making is not the same as the amount of money that the rookies are being drafted and making.
Exactly.
And so I am concerned about whether or not they'll be able to figure this out and be able to be like, no, we cannot miss games. Just to your point, you cannot, go like cut games, because those things end up being death to leagues. But my counterpoint to that is, from what I saw with Just Unrivaled, now I can't speak to the ratings like per se. What are ratings?
I did reference the ratings in my article. They weren't great. They actually did go down in terms of TV ratings, but it was the in arena ticket price sales, excuse me, that actually like went up and like showed like this is actually something real.
But that's what I was saying. Vibes. Like, you can feel vibes. And like, I can't tell you how many people who I know posted on their stories or sent to me being at the Unrivaled games in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Like, that place was bumping. And they only went 2 places. They only went to Philly and they went to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So could you imagine in the 3rd year of this, they're really now going to start doing some more travel with this and setting that up. And obviously the arenas are like, yes, more money, right? Like we can throw this event. Like obviously they're going to be ecstatic if one of their, because obviously there'll be a day where like, the Knicks aren't playing, that they'll probably play at Madison Square Garden. You don't think James Dolan's like, money? Bring that over here.
Look at the Brooklyn Nets. They weren't selling out the arena. So
yeah,
of course they're going to take Unrivaled to bring that draw, like you said.
Yeah. All right, man. That is all the time that we have today. Thank you guys again for listening. Olisa Azikiwe. I got it right that time. Please plug your great Substack and tell the people where they can find you at.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, appreciate the platform, Just. My Substack is The Fan Economist. You can find it by just searching The Fan Economist or searching Sports NBA. I am a new content creator per se, so I'm still trying to figure this out in terms of like, consistent uniform branding and this and the third. So just look for the black logo with like half a ball and half a chart, and that's probably associated with my work. But yeah, like I said, I just put out an article on why Unrivaled is one of the most brilliant power moves in sports history. So if you're interested in that and trying to get a better sense of what is going on with the WNBA and their negotiations, check me out and read that article. I appreciate it. It's free, so you don't have to do anything but just click on it. And if you want to, I would appreciate subscribing as well. That will help me out as well. But yeah, you can find me on Threads, where I'm making a little bit of leeway under the username Moves and Motives. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out the right name to brand all this stuff with. But that's also associated with The Fan Economist. And I'm just trying to make sports business, sports media more digestible and understandable for people who maybe want to understand what happens outside of the court and beyond the box score. So yeah,
all right. Thank you again. See, so I'm saying this was a great collab, like great conversation, man. So thank you guys out there, and for all the men, keep crying out there. All right,
do that.
There you go.
See ya.